I wanted to make sure I read this poem of Ghalib. Ghalib is one of the great mystic poets. Let's see if I still have. Because he is so unique in his approach to life and to the seriousness of life, and at the same time his own failings, his own weaknesses in being able to deal with life, but he never loses his sense of humor. And he can express in the same poem the most profound idea and the most ludicrous, the most witty, and the most human point of view than any of the other mystic poets. He had a great sense of humor. So I thought I would read this one. It's only a few lines. And realize that he's in the same boat as we are. He gets depressed, he gets angry, he gets frustrated, he gets lonely, he gets jealous. But all the time he knows that this is all a dream and that he should really focus on things of greater significance than whether this woman or that woman pays attention to him. This is what he says in this verse. When I look out, I see no hope for change. I don't see how anything in my life can end well. Those palm trees, those tulips, so where do they come from? And what purpose do they serve? The abundant objects of the world mean nothing to me. But, if the wine is free, how could Ghalib hold himself back? You should be laughing, a few of you. He says, I know, all these objects, all the abundant objects of the world mean nothing. They're all unreal. But if the wine is free, how can Ghalib hold himself back? He has to drink. He's not talking about wine. That's the only cue I'll give you. He's talking about wine, and he's not talking about wine. He's talking about something else. Something that we all feel. We know it's all unreal, but we tend to take it very seriously. It's like we have a dream. The dream seems real, but we know it's not. Especially when we get up in the morning, we know it's not. So why do we begin interpreting it? Why do we start? I'll read another one. My message, says Ghalib, hasn't received a reply. So I guess I'll write another. I think I know what you will say anyway. You is capitalized. It could mean his guru. It could mean the higher forces, God. He says, I think I know what you will say anyway. Look, why should I not scream? I can stop. Perhaps you notice Ghalib only when he stops screaming. But since nothing exists except you, then why do I keep hearing all this noise? You must learn to laugh at Ghalib. He is so funny. He has this schizophrenic world, Gurdjieff called it. He's between two worlds. He knows, and at the same time, he's forced to take part in this illusion. As we are. We know deep down that since everything changes, including my mind, especially my mind, we shouldn't be taking things that change so seriously. He says, look, I'm always hearing that only God exists, only pure existence exists. Then what is all this noise I'm hearing if only you exist? And although I know this abundance should mean nothing to me, meaning materialism should mean nothing, but wine is so delicious. This is a nothing I don't want to ignore, the wine. So, what deeper meaning do you get if you don't think of this as wine that you drink? I'll read the other one. Wine destroys the world. Blame the mouth of the pitcher for that. You're getting it, right? Even wine quivers when it sees your beauty go by. The lightning that fell on Moses should have fallen on Galib. You know, we always adjust the amount of the wine to the quality of the drinker. That's why it fell on Moses and not on Galib. Remember he talked about the mouth of the pitcher for that? You're not blaming the amount of wine that he's drinking, but how fast it comes from the mouth of the pitcher. But the important meaning of everything Galib writes, he writes that he knows this is all an illusion. He knows that everything that changes and passes has to be unreal. That reality is only that which remains the same, changeless. But he's caught with the beauty of the world. He's caught with the taste, not of the wine, but of his own passion. People think, for some reason, that when you get involved with yoga, your passion goes away. Your enthusiasm goes away. Your compassion goes away. Your ability to love goes away. They think of yoga as a dry experience that leaves you without any enjoyment of your senses. It's just wrong. It's just the opposite. You look at Maba, you look at Karan, you look at Bharati. You don't see passionless people. You don't see humorless people. The teachers have spent all their lives, practically, with these teachings. And they become more fun, more loving, more interesting, more charismatic, more magnetic. Because with the expectations, with the needs, with the confusion that we really are missing something as obstacles, we can't see what's all around us. Tonight's topic, the main topic, is the difference between having knowledge and knowing. There's a difference between knowledge and knowing. Once there is even a glimmer of understanding that we already have everything because we are everything, automatically you don't spend as much time. You still spend time, but you don't spend as much time worrying or fearful that you're going to miss something in life. We'll only miss it if we're sleeping. If we're awake, we'll enjoy everything even more. You can tell the way I'm talking, I did not plan to say any of this, but it's coming from Galib. That's why it's so marvelous to tune ourselves in to any of the enlightened ones. Because they spark within each one of us our own knowledge, our own understanding, our own direct contact with these truths. We just forgot. Different things were standing in the way, like clouds in the way of the sun. The sun's there, but if clouds come, memories come, expectations, desires come, they block the great light of the sun and the energy of the sun. That's another thing. Even with Gurdjieff's stroke, his massive stroke, we were expecting that, along with certain memory that had to disappear because of the cells being destroyed, we thought definitely there would be a diminishing of his power. Not at all. Because he was so intent in using language minimally, but with the greatest meaning and the greatest energy behind them. His power, his energy seemed to be more focused after his stroke. If he would say something, before he would say, "You must understand you are not the body and mind." But later, when he wanted to make every word penetrate, we would hear, "You are not the body and mind." How many understand? Raise your hand. Automatically a hand would go up, because he was not speaking words for us to hear words. He was using words almost like bullets to go into you, to pierce all the coverings of resistance that we had built up during our lifetimes. So I think I wanted to warm myself up with Ghalib's wine. The wine is everything of the world, all the intoxication of the beauty of the world, of the unexpected sunsets and sunrise. There are times, although we've seen so many, we still go back when there's a spectacular sunset or sunrise. Nature never seems to run out of ideas to stun us. But you see it better when you're not worried. You see it better when you're not depressed, when you're not lonely. You see life in all its beauty, and we're not afraid of it when we understand that we are in total control of our suffering. The suffering or enjoyment is up to us. When we really understand that, everything changes. That's the transformation that Gurdjieff was after us to undergo. I'm going to read next, and unless you have a question that you'd like to raise or some comment of your own. Anybody? No? Then I'll read a few paragraphs from an essay of Gurdjieff's called "The Principle of I Am." I only read a few paragraphs because people have told me Gurdjieff's writing and his teachings are so profound that after a while they can't take anything more in. That one line or two lines or three lines stop the mind, arrest the thinking and analysis with their sheer truth. And Gurdjieff had a rather miraculous way of touching through his words where our heart knot was. He seemed to know universally why we're missing our own light, our own enlightenment. Enlightenment means for us to be full of the light that we are. Not the light we have. Never said that. Be radiating fully the light that we are. That's enlightenment. Every word, I picked out a very powerful excerpt from this paper. Every word is loaded with meaning for each one of us. Were you coughing before? I have water I haven't touched. Who coughed? You? Would you like water?
I'm good, thank you.
You're good?
Yes.
Would you like wine? See me later, I'll try and help you. Thought is bondage, and thought is freedom. Thought is bondage, and thought is freedom. When one thinks, I am the body, then by this thought, one is in the state of what?
Bondage.
Bondage, right. And when one experiences, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not senses, ego, or superego, but I am eternal and immortal spirit, then by this thought one becomes free. Therefore, the best method, he's talking about the best method to realize you are free, is to surrender the mind in the form of the I thought. Surrender that thought to supreme consciousness, to self, to God, keeping quiet, keeping still, not forgetting that it is God or self or consciousness that is shining in me all the time as I. Guruji would say, it's the thought, I am so-and-so, I am Miss, I am Mr., I'm tall, I'm thin, I'm happy, I'm sad. That thought, I, is our obstacle. But remembering the I thought in its real form, in its witnessing form, the I witness, changeless and motionless, remembering that I am pure spirit. What's the other word he said? Pure spirit, immortal spirit, pure and immortal spirit. Keeping still, not forgetting that it is God itself. By God is not a God separate from us, but the inner godliness. God is not separate. God we feel as conscience. God we feel as a guiding light. God we feel as even guilt consciousness sometimes. But it's a feeling deep inside that we're not alone. We're not alone, neither during the ups nor the downs. If we can do that, holding on to that I thought, and surrender even that to that inner teacher, that inner light, that's the best method. Surrendering the mind to realize we are already free. By that statement of Guruji's, he's reminding us, or me, of other statement he has made. Once we surrender the mind is the storehouse of memory of the past. Once we surrender that, we're surrendering the ego. We're letting the ego go, because without the past, there is no ego. And we should, it doesn't mean, as you will hear later, that memory, knowledge that we need is surrendered. But memory and knowledge, not only that we don't need, but that is standing in the way of our realizing, I have never lost my freedom. I have never lost my peace of mind. It is not the body, mind, senses, and thoughts which are undesirable, but it is identifying the I, spirit, the eternal, immortal I, that sense of I am, with the body, mind, senses, and thoughts. That is undesirable. And that is the cause of bondage. I'll just say, if you're feeling depressed one day, that would never happen, right? I don't know where I get these ideas. Supposing you wake up tomorrow after a lovely weekend or lovely day, and you're depressed, and you don't know why. How different it would be if we could always say, oh, there were so many depressing dreams last night. And I woke up having a residue of depressing thoughts from the dream. Oh, thank God I'm not depressed. It's just my mind. What a much better day you'd have. I remember, I don't know if it was Guruji or Rajneesh or Nisargadatta, who said, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Can we wake up every morning and say, okay, the same two choices. Am I going to be happy today, or will I be unhappy today? And you choose. It's a completely different way of living your life. We can choose. Nothing can bother us. I often say when we postpone depressing thoughts or stressful thoughts, I call it the Scarlett O'Hara syndrome. Fiddle-dee-dee, I'll think about that tomorrow. Not now. It's up to us. Our greatest power, according to every enlightened soul, the greatest weapon we have is the ability not to think about something. Who can make us sad? The mind, the ego. But nobody can force you to think about something that saddened you or upset you. You have that power, right? Problem is when we're children, we hear from our mothers, go in your room and think about what you did. And then the gurus come along, whatever you do, don't think about what you did. Because you don't want to use the disturbed mind to look at what it caused and then ask the disturbed mind to solve that and rectify that. That makes no sense. So yogi mothers, it takes a while, but mothers trained by teachers, great teachers, begin to say, look, you were very fresh to your father, very fresh to me, but we know you must have had an upsetting day, so go in your room, watch any television you want. If you don't feel like eating, you don't have to eat. You don't feel like picking up your clothes from this morning, you don't have to do that. Because, you know, you're feeling this bad. You're feeling not yourself. When you feel more yourself, this is what he trained us to say. When you feel more yourself, come and tell mommy why you're upset. Not now. When you calm down a little. You didn't mean to be fresh, did you? And then he still bangs the door. It's tough in school. It's very hard. Very hard. As you know, you've been reading the papers, the bullying has been going on for lifetimes. Bullying is an act of violence against a sensitive soul. And all our children and all of us had to face some form of bullying in sarcasm, criticism, groups that shut you out, or groups that shut others out and you felt it because you could feel their pain. We come from lifetimes of sitting with these great masters. All of us have sat with great gurus. Same guru in different forms. And we have learned the meaning of the word compassion. So even if we're the popular ones, it's very difficult to watch the bullying that goes on of children who are obvious misfits, but doesn't mean that they don't have their great value in a group. I'm hearing so much about the tragedy of bullying, the results of it, that it's very much on my mind. I was a teacher for a number of years, and I was witness to it.
Joan,
Yes.
I would propose that the bullying isn't just in child. I propose that it's still rampant among adults.
Don't propose it, state it as a fact. Absolutely. It's not only rampant among adults, but it's causing even greater harm. Because as children, we could run to adults, teachers, mothers complaining. There's no one we can run to when someone is sarcastic and cruel and brutal and betrays us, betrays our trust. Thank you for saying that. You needn't propose. I accept. I accept. You don't have to propose. And I'm glad you said it. I think that's why everyone's head was nodding, because we knew it as children, and especially a group of people interested in these teachings is a group that's particularly sensitive. And those are the ones that are still the misfits. There's a program on DVD that Surratt filmed, one of the satsangs, and the topic was being a misfit and living in such a way that your being a misfit is an example to the world. It's all in that program. But you know it. You don't have to watch the DVD. I can tell. You know it. So, Gurdjieff just said, it's not the body, mind, senses, and thoughts which are undesirable. It's identifying the I with them, with the body, with the mind, with the senses. That's what is undesirable and the cause of bondage. Here's a practical example from Gurdjieff. When you drive your car and you feel kind of identified with your car, that is to say, you feel that you are the car, that's undesirable. On the other hand, if you feel that you're the owner of the car and that you simply drive your car to reach your destination, then it's desirable. And that is freedom. Likewise, when you feel identified with your body, then you are driven by your body, by the needs of your body. You are identified with your body, then you are driven by the body. And in such a condition, that real I is in bondage, which is undesirable. On the other hand, if this I feels itself as pure consciousness and then drives, as it were, the psychophysiological organism in the relative universe, then there's freedom. Hello. You came in on the good part. You came in on freedom, John. Thanks, you're welcome. I'll just go back one sentence, because I didn't read it well either. He says, if you feel that you're the owner of the car and not identified with the car, you can drive your car to reach your destination. Then it's desirable, and it is freedom. Likewise, when you feel identified with your body, then you are driven by your body. And in such a condition, your real I is in bondage. That is undesirable. On the other hand, if this I, this sense of I that we have, feels itself as pure consciousness, and therefore drives, as it were, the psychophysiological organism in the relative universe, we are the driver of that, then there is freedom, and that's desirable. As we give rest, fuel, and cleaning to our car, so we must give rest and right protection to our body. But not think of it as I. Think of it as what we need to function in the world. This great teacher on the wall, Sri Nisargadatta from I Am That, he says on the cover of the paperback edition of I Am That, it's not necessary for our body to live long, because we get another one very soon. But what is important is to keep our alertness and understanding as sharp as we can. And also, he says it's okay to keep your body going. Do enough, bring it to the doctor, give it whatever food it needs, whatever rest it needs, just to keep it going. You don't need to keep it so many pounds, so much energy. You don't need that. You need to keep it well enough to help you function. But the minute you identify with your body, worry starts. Gurdjieff warned you, don't wait until you're 50 to worry about your body. It's getting old after 30. You may as well start sooner if you're going to worry. But he said, we can't help it. Up to the age of 30, the body takes care of itself, ordinarily, if we're healthy. But if we spend too much time, he said, identified with the body, identified with the mind, worrying that you're worrying so much. I have people ask questions in the afternoon. Why do I worry so much? I know it doesn't help. Why do I complain so much? It doesn't help. And I said, why do you? I don't know what it is. It's our habit. We have the habit of worrying, right? We have the habit of identifying with this, which keeps changing all the time. Which body do you want to identify with? What would you prefer to identify with? The 17-year-old body or the 80-year-old body? Which one would you like? You laugh. What would you like to identify with?
Ideally speaking, the 17.
Ideally speaking, the 17-year. Then why didn't you cry when you turned 19? Why didn't you cry? That's the best body. But we cry when we lose the decrepit body. How come we cry when this is 85? It's not. Don't think that. You're going too far. But when this turns 75, 80, 85, we cry, we worry, because we think what? Very simple.
We're going to die.
Not we're going to die. We think this is the last body we'll have. And that's what I am. It's not, it's a banana peel. That's all. It really is. The fruit, the soul, the spirit. That can't perish. Where's it going to go? We're not sure where it goes, but we know it's not buried and it's not burnt when the body is burnt. It can't be. How is it we go into sleep? The body goes into deep sleep. No dreams part of the night. The mind is not present. The mind with its memories, gone. And yet we wake up every day with those memories. We let it go in sleep, but we don't understand the dying process, like the birth process, is part of the whole thing. If we can, Krishnamurti said, if we can allow our body to drop away the way a tree lets a leaf drop beautifully to the ground. Watch those leaves dancing as they fall. They never go, ooh, scary. They fly, they dance, they let go. Natalie, having fun?
Yeah, I was just imagining, like a little cartoon leaf going, ah!
That's right. Help me! It doesn't. It just, great. The Krishnamurti said, if we could just let go, knowing that we'll be born again. It becomes part of the earth again, and part of the atmosphere again. The tree looks dead, but it's not. It's just in dormant condition. That's the Lord Shiva aspect. To destroy in order for Brahma to create again and Vishnu to maintain it. So Gurdjieff says, as we give rest and fuel and cleaning service to our car, so we must give rest and right protection to our body. We have to keep this fact clearly in one's mind. Putting gasoline in the car does not mean that one is drinking that gasoline oneself. In the same way, the eating, sleeping, and resting activities of the body should not be attributed to the I, which never eats and never sleeps and remains beyond the mental and physical activities. We had such a perfect... If you'd like to come in this room, you want to sit there? Okay. I used to do the same. I used to sit out there, but Emil's coming in. I used to sit out there because in the beginning I never knew when I would want to run away, So I sat in the shadows until he went like that. Sit here. Because these teachings, once you get them, they're the greatest protection you can have. But in the beginning, they shake up everything we have accumulated as our knowledge and understanding. Because this is Yoga Vedanta. Vedanta means that which is beyond everything. Beyond everything we've ever learned. It goes into the unknown through meditation, Yoga Vedanta. But in the beginning, I remember it was almost too much to listen to him. We just were happy in his presence, but a lot of what he was saying sounded like it was going to completely destroy my family life, my career, my relationships with people, because he was saying that we don't need anyone. We don't need anything to be happy. That's what is that? He said, if you like some pleasures, companionship, that's extra. You can have that. But basically, if you don't have a husband, you don't have a wife, you don't have children, Gurdjieff would laugh. You think I'm funny? Sometimes he was hilarious. He said, you're upset because you don't have a wife, you don't have a husband, you don't have children, you don't have a life. You don't know, you may be better off. I talk to people every day, he said, who are crying, I wish I didn't have a wife, I didn't have a husband, I didn't have children, I didn't have this job. He said, we always want what's out of our reach. He said, but once you learn, you can enjoy everything. More, better. Because you don't need desperately those outer things to be happy. Once you've tasted that, have had your own direct experience, you realize that these gurus who bother with us, who bother to take incarnation, they don't have to. They come back. They say they can choose to come back. Gurdjieff had a massive stroke. He could have let go. Would have been much easier. He didn't have to eat. He could have just gone into samadhi. He could have. But he said, we weren't ready. So for 10 years, he existed in good condition. He was funny. He was happy. He was glad to be with us. But he had a body that was half paralyzed. So anytime he was forced to be in that body in order to function on this plane, it was a great sacrifice. They love. They have incredible compassion. Not only Gurdjieff, many of the Sri Nisargadatta, that same great teacher, he had cancer of the throat. He also could have stopped eating, but he continued to live with it and continued the same schedule as Gurdjieff did after his stroke. He continued to talk in whispers because he said, I need to try and reach you before it's too late for you. He said, as long as I can still live. He told others, physical suffering is terrible, but not for him. But for others, he said, I can understand your pain. But he said, I'm not here, I'm here. Meaning I'm beyond the body. And so was Gurdjieff. That to have the stroke affect him this way, there had to be pain in this body, because every day it turned more. But he wasn't on that plane. It's like when you're dreaming, in deep dream, and you're hungry, but you dream there's a big meal being served to you. You don't wake up hungry. You understand? Because the dream is functioning on a different level. beyond the body, mind, and senses, there's no pain. There's no contact with pain. And we can do that. We can do that if we become very established in witnessing and meditation. We can transcend the body when it's giving us too much pain. We can transcend the mind and the senses when they're failing us. We can do that if we're willing to at least experiment with witnessing and meditation until it becomes a knack for you, until you can always step outside of your body to be in your true form. Finally, final sentence. I just read it, I'll read it again. The eating, sleeping, and resting activities of the body should never be attributed to the I, which never eats and never sleeps and remains beyond the mental and physical activities. We perform them, we act even better, we function even better without the fears being in the way and the sense of inadequacy being in the way. We perform better, perfectly, if we remain in that witnessing state. Doesn't mean you just sit like this. You function. You do everything you're doing now, but not identifying with the activities. So, there's 2 paragraphs like this. It's really 2-3 paragraphs. Can keep us busy for hours. But I like to do what Gurdjieff did. He would read from different masters, different teachings on the same point. They seem to be different topics. It's always the same. But some, like Ghalib, say it through these wonderful imagery, and others, like the next master, say it in ways that reach us directly. Does anyone have a question, though, before I go on to the next reading? Tonight's one of the nights we don't have a cultural event. I thought Krishna would be here to lead kirtan, but she had to be somewhere else. So we'll see who manifests for some music at the end. Does anyone have a question?